Well, it's Thursday, and you all know what that means. As you know, TNA is coming out from, of course, Rebellion with an amazing show. We have, of course, Moose who retained his title against Nick Meneth. So does the system, Myers, and, of course, Edwards, and plenty others. But the real question we ask ourselves, okay, where do we go with here after this? We'll just have to find out as soon as we review everything. And then we move on with Ring of Honor with several good matches as well. We do have a proving ground match for the ROH World Tag Team titles. This time the challengers are none other than the Outrunners, but the real question, can they withstand 10 minutes or beat the Undisputed Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. But first things first, we're going to be doing, of course, a review from the collective from earlier in this month. And this one is Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling live in Philadelphia. This one had a pretty good show. I enjoyed a lot of the good matches, not to mention, I think many of us love watching these girls. Then, of course, we move on with our last and final thing, which is some news updates to give you guys updates what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, and of course, some interesting developments that, of course, are happening in the world in pro wrestling. But also, we are going to congratulate a current W superstar with some very special news that she and her husband will share with everyone. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone. Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics, such as, of course, the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also do the United Sayaka Watch and various other cool things as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content on this channel. But if you like this episode, give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions have set aside, I believe it's time to get this show on the road, and I think our very first review is from Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling. Okay, Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling. Now, this took place back, of course, on April 5th in Philadelphia during WrestleMania week. This was part of the collective. Now, they did the show in Philly. I cannot recall the name of the venue, but it was a pretty good sized venue to everybody enjoy a wrestling match. Now, of course, it opened up like any other Tokyo Show Pro Wrestling show we've seen, not only in Japan, but we do see, of course, Raku and Miyu Watanabe, the only members of the Up Girls, of course, doing the performance, doing the chop kick or whatever it's called, but I thought it was a pretty good performance. But you may have saw what happened with Miyu Watanabe while she was performing. She might have taken off a lens from the camera. I thought it was so hilarious. I mean, I love Watanabe's energy, how she is not only just because she's a performer and as a singer, but the way she gets the fans behind her. That's always been fun. So, but she got the camera fixed nonetheless. But we will see those two. Miyu Watanabe will be teaming up with her Daydream tag partner, Rika Tatsima, to take on, of course, Ito and Yamashita. But as for Raku, we will see her too. Now, let's begin with our very first match. We have, of course, our current um, Princess Tag Champions in a non-title match. Daisy Monkey, Zuzumi, and Arisu Endo taking on Zara, Sakir, and the former champion, one half of the former champions that we have, who was a two-time tag champion, Yuki Aino. Now, keep in mind, this is not a title match. This is a non-title match. Now, of course, you probably would think that Yuki Aino would want to have a bit of measure of payback for losing the tag titles to Daisy Monkey. Well, you would think, because we know, if you guys follow the story with Daisy Monkey for a long time, you know they have long for getting to this point, winning these tag belts, which they did at the Grand Princess. But they were able to do the same thing when, of course, Zuzumi rolled up Zara, picking up the win, allowing for her and her tag partner Arisu Endo winning the match. Now, our next match, we have Hyper Misawa taking on Billy Starks, but she is not alone. Her mentor, Athena, showed up as well. So that was kind of interesting to see. Now, of course, we know Hyper Misawa. Now, as you know, she is the resident superhero in Tokyo Pro Wrestling, but she cheats. We all know that. She cheats with good intentions. Now, you would think that she cheats with good intentions, but she uses her intentions for good reasons. But however, the one person who doesn't seem to understand that the most is Athena, because she got cold spray by none other, and of course, Hyper Misawa, blinding her. That put her in off base when, of course, Billy Starks took her out with the Swanton Bomb, and just like that, winning the match. Now, our next match, we had another tag team match. This time we have Trish Adora teaming with Raku. They take on Viva Van and Yuki Kamifuku. Now, it's interesting. Now, the commentators made a good observation about this, about Viva Van and Yuki Kamifuku. These two ladies recently were opponents, and now they're teaming together. I feel like this team is a good fit. I mean, yes, it's good that they faced off each other, but teaming together, that's a different story. And you ask yourselves, if this is a makeshift team, how will they work? Well, I have to say they did work very well, because, of course, Viva Van and Trish Adora actually trained in the same academy, the New Japan Academy. That explains a lot. But it did allow for that type of thing where between those two was going on. It allowed for Yuki to apply the famouser onto Raku, and just like that, Kamifuku and Viva Van won the match. Now, our next match, we had another makeshift type tag team match. We have Vert Vixen teaming up with the resident bunny, Mizuki, while they take on Pam Harajuku and, of course, the legend, Aja Kong. So you would ask yourself, okay, watching this match, you would say, okay, Aja Kong's in the mix. This is going to be a very difficult match for Vert Vixen and Mizuki to pick up the win. Yes, that is true. But if you play your cards right in this match, you would try to think opposite way. You want to avoid Aja Kong. I think that's the play. But it was, of course, the perfect one, because it was, unfortunately, Pam Harajuku who ended up losing the match when Mizuki applied the cutie special, and just like that, it was over. Now, our next match, we have a singles match. We have Rio, not Riho, Rio. This one's pronounced with the RHIO. Let me spell it out for you again. RHIO. You may have seen her a few times. She even makes appearances at Sealing a few times as well. She takes on Bei Kaiju Shoko Nakajima. So, of course, this was going to be a very tough battle for Nakajima. I mean, she has faced worse before in the past, which is no secret. But it was the senton bomb that gave her the win against Rio, and that was over from there. Now, our main event, we have seen these two succeed on various occasions as a tag team and individually in the past. We have Maki Ito, of course, the cutest in the world, teaming up with her best friend and tag partner, the Pink Striker, Miyu Yamashita. They take on, of course, Daydream, um, Miyu Watanabe, our current Princess of Princess champion, and of course, Rika Tatsumi. So this is a very interesting development. I have to say, these two ladies are almost the same in some capacity. Now, Maki Ito, we know she has very unorthodox methods when it comes to her wrestling craft. Of course, she does the kokeshi. There was a moment she was about to do that with Rika Tatsumi, but Tatsumi rolled out of the way. Miyu Yamashita's like, look. She managed to hold her down until she moved Tatsumi back in position. And you ever see one of those Saved by the Bells or movies where someone says, time out, everybody freezes, and then later, of course, time back, that was like the same thing what was happening. So I thought it was very hilarious. But there was a moment we did see, of course, Rika Tatsumi went to the bar, dragging them over there, ordering some beer. I'm like, how can you drink in a time like this? But I guess Rika Tatsumi doesn't give a damn. Because Rika Tatsumi is Rika Tatsumi. I mean, you seen her behavior. You know how she acts. She is disregard. She thinks it's funny what she does. Of course, Bobby, you're saying, how can Miyu Watanabe puts up with her? I mean, she is her friend and mentor. She can't argue with her. But unfortunately, Tatsumi was the one who ended up taking the fall when the Pink Striker applied the skull kick, and just like that, it was completely over. So I think this event was pretty great. I loved it. I enjoyed the fact that there were some makeshift teams that were formed, especially those who were not from Japan, but they had made appearances in Tokyo Pro Wrestling. I mean, we have seen Zara Zakir make appearance, we have seen Billy Starks and a few others, but I love it. I have to say, pretty good show. I love it. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for this one. I believe it's time to move on with TNA. Okay, TNA. As you know, they entered their fallout or aftermath after this past Saturday from Rebellion. Now, the real question we ask ourselves every single time, what's next from here on out? Well, Nick Meneth comes out, does a promo, speaks about Rebellion, of course, heartbroken that, of course, he did not win the title, but however, Broken Matt Hardy comes out saying that he had a premonition that this match was going to go with Nick Meneth, but unfortunately it did not go. But he did bring out a point that, of course, it cannot be reversal once the referee made it final. There was a moment in this match, and I failed to see it as well, where, of course, as you know, when you make the pinfall, the opponent who is lying on their back, both their shoulders have to be touching. However, Moose lift up, of course, the shoulder of Nick Meneth. The referee did not see it, and it went into proceeding. However, Hardy says that he should deserve another opportunity, but however, it's probably going to be impossible. But Matt Hardy did state it that if he gets title, he'll give Nick Meneth the opportunity. However, the system did not like what they're hearing. But however, once again, they decided to throw out with their threats. But we did see, of course, Nick Meneth later on will be facing Eddie Edwards just to shut him up. Now, as you know, Mustafa Ali, with his ridiculous ways being the X Division champion, decided to go out on a ballot to find a number one contender. So people were putting their names on the hat. Well, not literally, but you know what I mean. But we did see Santino, who seems like he liked the idea. But as soon as things were getting a little interesting, he was approached by, of course, our current and still Knockouts World Champion, Jordan Grace. Now, we don't know what the discussion was about, but that discussion was later revealed by none other than Jordan Grace when Gia Miller conducted an interview telling her that congratulations on her win. Of course, she did not expect how things were going to go down, but she actually had a premonition that, of course, Steph De Lander was going to do something predictable to ensure she loses the TNA Knockouts World title. Of course, she had PCO on standby, as for, I didn't expect that, but she said the one person she did not expect was Sami Callihan. Now, she did stated that next week she will have a match against Miyu Yamashita and a non-title match. However, the conversation that Jordan Grace had with Santino Marella, the director of Authority, she said that instead of having this match with Yamashita as a non-title match, let's make it a title match. She wants to prove that she's a fighting champion, and that's exactly what she's going to do. So, and even Yamashita appeared, telling her that she will take the belt from her. But we'll see about that when we get there. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Mike Santana. Now, those who know, he is now signed officially with TNA. He takes on one member of the Rascals, Myron Reed. Now, of course, the Rascals, with their ways of trying to pick up wins, were one of those things that have been well documented over time. But however, Mike Santana took out Trent and Wentz, that allowed, of course, for Mike Santana to apply spin the block, or STB, and just like that, he won the match. However, in the post match, Steve Macklin, the guy he took out this past Saturday in his match, asked the Rascals for help. However, while they seem like they're going to do the job, they just pull a fast one on him and bail. I mean, he didn't want them there. There was a bit of a friction between them. Macklin should have known that is still there. But of course, Mike Santana gave him an ass whooping. But until Macklin just left, realizing he can't do things on his own. Now, it seems that because of what happened at Rebellion, Steph De Lander is still, pardon my language, bitching about how this thing, and because people are using the screw job thing like that happened in Montreal back in the 90s, they're calling this the Las Vegas screw job, something that, of course, Matt Cardona has been doing after he's been screwed many times. But this time, she has backup, and that is Khan. So apparently in Under Siege, their upcoming pay-per-view, Khan and Steph De Lander will take on PCO and Jordan Grace. Now, with a successful win at, of course, at Rebellion against Hammerstone, Alexander throws out a promo. Now, as you know, he's been called many things, the walking weapon and all this and that. But there is one thing that he wants. He wants the TNA World title once again. He wants to make the hunt. However, it appears the so-called king of TNA, Frankie Kazarian, had something else to say. He was not going to allow Josh Alexander to jump the line. So this later on became a match between these two. Josh Alexander was not even in his ring clothes, so basically it was more plain clothes. But you would think that Frank Kazarian will try to find a way to weasel his way back to the top, which he tried to do many times. But this time it was thwarted by none other than Eric Young, who, of course, made Kazarian lose focus, giving, of course, Alexander the necessary time to apply the ankle lock, forcing Kazarian to tap out. Of course, this feud with Kazarian and Young is not even over by a long shot. Now, back in the ballot box, we did see, of course, Santino. He was there with Jake Something and Diener. Now, Diener put himself on the hat until Hammerstone abruptly interrupted the whole process. It seems that, of course, Hammerstone is pissed off over something, asking Santino to talk to him. But Jake Something, who did not like what he was seeing, got into his face. However, while the mayhem was going on there, the Rascals, with their shenanigans, went into the ballot box. Now, you guys seen one of those movies where people try to add extra votes or remove votes? Well, we were seeing that with them adding votes in order. It seems like someone is trying to weasel their way in for a shot of the X Division title. Now, this is a rematch for what happened a couple of weeks ago Ash by Elegance versus Zaya Brookside. Now, that stooge, the cussing or whatever it is, let's just call him stooge, you know? That's what I feel like calling him. He's a stooge. That stooge did not like cost Zaya Brookside the match, saying that it was an accident. Nope, you did that intentionally. That's what happened. But Zaya Brookside was able to convince Santino to get another match, which he said yes. Ash by Elegance, who has no time for this because we know she has one goal in mind, and that goal is the TNA Knockouts World title. But she has to contend with Zaya Brookside. Now, of course, you see moments where they're going back and forth, back and forth. But at some point, that stooge had given something to by Ash with like a diamond brass knuckle type, you know. But the ref caught on to it. It backfired. But unfortunately, because of this distraction, it allowed for Zaya Brookside to roll up Ash by Elegance to pick up the win. But the honesty question is this: is this truly over between Ash by Elegance and Zaya Brookside? Now, we have seen on countless occasions, well, we're seeing this now with Frank Kazarian and Eric Young, like it's not even over. So is this over or we're still going to see this? Well, we don't know. Now, it's time for unveiling who actually got the most ballots. Well, apparently they counted saying that Trey Miguel had 63 votes, 60 something votes, which was, of course, unusual. However, Chris Bay asked Santino, okay, if he had the most votes, who was second? And according to Santino, Ace Austin. So even though Mustafa Ali, who I like to say he's a coward who doesn't want to face them, Santino decided, you know what? Let's have next week a number one contender. So basically, Mustafa feels like if this votes are invalid, they can't compete. But Santino is the director of authority. It's the law, and it's final. So anyway, our next match, we have the Good Hands taking on Sami Callihan, a 2-on-1. Now, of course, you would think that the Good Hands probably have a smile on their faces thinking, ha ha ha, it's 2-on-1. Like, they clearly don't know Sammy like they think they do, but the guy's a beast. He's a monster, guys. He doesn't take crap from anybody. And of course, just like what we predict, Sammy took out Hotch with the Cactus Driver 97 just to pick up the win. So, too bad for the Good Hands. You know. So, yeah. So, now our main event, Eddie Edwards versus Nick Meneth. Now, we know that the system are trying to stop Nick Meneth from ever making another play for the TNA World title. Now, of course, the system was going to get involved at some point, which they did. We did see Moose whack Nick Meneth with the belt, allowing for, of course, the Myers and Alicia to cause a distraction, giving time for Eddie to apply the Boston Knee Party, and just like that, it was over. And then, of course, they took out Nick Meneth with the chair around his neck, but of course, causing damage. But we did see, of course, Matt Hardy showed up, and of course, what's their name? Speedball Mountain. While it was over, as you know, the system feel confident enough to believe they took out Nick Meneth. Nick Meneth will be back, and he will claim what is rightfully his. But however, there was an exclusive video that was showed on their X account because the doctor told them that there's no way that Nick Meneth will compete at Under Siege while he teams up with his homies, the Speedball Mountain. So Matt Hardy decided to step in, saying, I'll take his place. And of course, the director of authority had no problem at all. So it's happening. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for our TNA review. So let's move on with Ring of Honor. Okay, our final review, Ring of Honor. It opened up with Isaiah Cassidy of Private Party taking on Commander. Now, when we see these type of matches, when you look at who's involved in this match, many of you would think Commander has this, he has it up in hand. But we have seen over time with Isaiah Cassidy, I think this is one where we overlook something. Now, if you guys remember, Mark Quinn was out of action for almost a year. Isaiah Cassidy had to wrestle by himself or sometimes team up with Matt Hardy. but it did help him to learn how to be a singles wrestler. And I think he did a pretty good job. And I think many people might have thought, oh, he's going to take the fall. Nope. He was the one who picked up a perfectly pinfall onto Commander, and just like that, and picked up the win. But as I said before, I feel people are still overlooking the fact that he has done things without Mark Quinn in the past, but it's a good thing that he learned that while Mark Quinn was recovering. Now, our next match, we have a bit of where people are now talking about who will be the lucky recipients to take on, of course, Bullet Club Gold. And we have the Dark Order consisting of Alex Reynolds, John Silver, Evil Uno to take on Top Flight, Dante Martin and Darius, and of course, Action Andretti. Now, for my money, as I always say, I would think that Top Flight and Action Andretti have been the much stronger trios. We have seen these three guys grown so much. Now, no disrespect to the Dark Order. We know that these guys have a very tight bond, just like these guys. But as wrestlers, we have watched, of course, Top Flight and Action Andretti have gained a lot of momentum either in singles, tag match, or trios. That's always been the clear case. But it was Action Andretti who picked up the win when he applied a pinfall onto Alex Reynolds, giving, of course, him and his teammates the win. Now, our next match, we have Anna Jay versus Allison K. Now, of course, we just saw recently Anna Jay, who had a match against Mina Shirakawa. She had a match with her twice, one in Ring of Honor and in AEW Dynamite. However, this was a completely different. You would think that, of course, Anna Jay will probably take her frustrations out on Allison K, which you probably would think so because she applied the Queen Slayer, and just like that, it was over. We have seen Anna Jay grow up simplicity, and just like that, she's growing up so much. Now, there was a bit of a meme emergency empowered meeting with, of course, Athena along with the minions over the situation that took place. We're talking about, of course, where Queen Aminata helped Red Velvet at Battle of the Belts. It seems like they're not happy how this turned out. But it seems like they're going to go to war. But we did see a little later Queen Aminata, of course, and Red Velvet talking about that they're looking for a fight. But Red Velvet said that she will bow down to the Queen herself, since she is actual royalty. Well, I mean, I'm sure many of us would think, okay, could Queen Aminata be the one to dethrone Athena? Possibly. I mean, I'm sure they're trying to find out who will be a suitable champion who will ever be to the throne. I mean, we've seen Queen Aminata has shown what she can do. I'm a fan of hers, and I think many people should pay attention to her. So we'll see what happens as we go. Now, our next match, we have Johnny TV taking on Will Austin. Now, I can tell you with this match, Johnny TV picked up the win when he applied the Starship Pain, and just like that, it was completely over. Now, our next match, we have the Mogul Embassy, Teo Leona, Bishop Khan, and Brian Cage taking on one called Manders, Beefcake, Beef, and of course, Calvin Tankman. So this is a very interesting match where we have big men who will fight big men. However, as you know, the Mogul Embassy has been one of the most strongest factions and units in AEW and Ring of Honor. Don't forget, they are, of course, former ROH six-man tag champions. They probably could make their case to challenge for those belts against the Bullet Club Gold. Well, you can tell that this match was over when Mogul Embassy applied a triple power bomb on Tankman, but it was Brian Cage who picked up the win by pinning Tankman. Now, as you know, the Premier Athletes attacked, of course, the infantry. It was nothing personal towards them. It was a bit of a statement saying that all fun and games are over. It's time for them to take things real. But the one thing they did not anticipate is that our current ROH World Champion has rallied the troops who did not appreciate this attack. So they're giving the warning. So we will see what happens next week. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks between them. Our next match, we have Layla Gray taking on the magical girl, Yuka Sakazaki. Yes, she is in this match. I think this is prior before the injury she obtained. But it was a pretty good match nonetheless. But it was, of course, Yuka with the magical splash that allowed them to win. Now, during an interview with Griff Garrison and Cole Carter, as you know, they came up short with certain opportunities. So Maria, who's a bit more saddened at the fact that they did not win those matches, but however, it did help them build up momentum. So basically, things are looking up for them now. So we will see what happens. Now, our next match is a proving ground match for the ROH World Tag Team titles. We have the Undisputed Kingdom, Mike Bennett and Matt Taven, taking on the Outrunners, Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum. Many people would presume that these guys would have held within another 10 minutes as possible to take on the Kingdom. But however, Mike Bennett decided to roll up, of course, Floyd, I believe, and they used the tights in order to ensure they're trying to ensure nobody challenged them for the ROH tag team titles. But sooner or later, someone will, either if they like it or not. Now, our next match, we have Taya Valkyrie taking on Laney Luck. This match, as you know, probably did fell into Taya Valkyrie. She applied like a somewhat version of the STF, allowing her to pick up the win. Now, we do see an interview with Lex Lanier with the infantry, talking about what just transpired and all this, but all of a sudden, the Outrunners, who have been stealing their move. I mean, first it was the boot camp, and now the camo. So they're trying to act like they think they did it before they do. I'm like, this is becoming very twisted between them, but we will see what happens after that. Now, our next match, we have Lance Archer teaming once again with the Righteous, Dutch, and Vincent. They take on John Cruz, GPA, and of course Ren Jones. Now I can tell you this match ended with Archer and the Righteous when, of course, they applied both the Blackout and the Sunshine Ottoman Sunshine. But of course, GPA and Jones were stacked like piles of stuff, allowing for Dutch to pick up the win. Next up, we have Abaddon taking on Nova. I can tell you this match ended with the Black Dahlia, and just like that, it was over. We do see Lex Lanier having a nice interview with Johnny TV and Taya Valkyrie, talking about the end of their season they've been posting out. Aaron Solo, someone who they've been familiarized with in the QTV days, seems Solo wants to be part of the upcoming season or something, but we'll see what happens. But I don't know if he'll be fit enough. Now, our next match, we have a bit of a trios. This is our main event. Blake Christian versus AR Fox versus Beast Mortos. I think this match was going to be pretty good. Beast Mortos has, shown what he can capable of doing. But however, I think the bigger problem is this: we were seeing a bit of 2-on-1 scenario. Who is the most liable threat in this match? I think everybody could agree Beast Morto was the much bigger threat. But unfortunately, it was, of course, Fox who ended up taking the fall by Beast Mortos, allowing him to pick up the win. So I think that's pretty much it, what we have for all the reviews. We're done with that so far. Now let's move on with our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, welcome to our news update. So, first things first, we want to give a congratulations to Sarah Logan and her husband Eric of the Viking Raiders on the announcement of their expecting their second child. So, congratulations, guys. So, and I like to say the timing is perfect. Now, as you know, Sarah Logan in real life is good friends with Ruby Soho. They've been very good friends for a long time, as you all know. And recently we did see Ruby Soho announce that she and her boyfriend Angelo Parker, are also expecting a child of their own. So I mentioned this to several of my friends about this, and they're if I'm sure they're gonna have get-togethers, and I'm sure that both kids are gonna be BFFs. And I said, I mean, because the timing is perfect. I mean, at least both children can play together. When they have gatherings between both sides. So I think it's gonna be awesome. So congratulations to Sarah Logan and her husband Eric. Now, let's move on. Of course, we have some updates with some of the upcoming events with the promotions. Our first one we have is GCW with the Rather You Than Me event that will take place in Tampa on the 3rd of May. Now, a match has been announced, and this one has Jordan Oliver versus Timothy Thatcher. Ooh, this is going to be good. Now, Timothy Thatcher, he is no joke. I'm kind of curious, how will Jordan Oliver deal? Now, however, we do know, as you know, GCW had to deal with the shenanigans from Matt Cardona. Well, apparently he's going to be in attendance in there due to the fact that he's out. He did say that there's going to be a State of a Broski addressed. Yeah, he's going to bitch and complain. You can bet that. I'm quoting from Ninja Mac, as he always say. But we'll see. Now, moving on. For the Cinco de Mayo show by House of Glory taking place exactly on May 5th, or as we say in the Hispanic world or in Mexico, Cinco de Mayo, the House of Glory Cruiserweight title, KZ Navarro will defend his belt against Laredo Kid. This is going to be interesting. So I'm looking forward to hearing about this one. Now, finally, MLW has announced for the Azteca Lucha event that will take place on May 11th. Trios match has been announced. We have Atlantis, uh, Jesus Rodriguez, or as you know him, Ricardo Rodriguez. They team up with Guerrero Maya Jr. They take on Felino, Virus, and Villano Tercero Jr. So that's pretty much it. What we have for our updates with the promotions. Now it's time to, of course, talk about certain developments that occurred. Now, as you may have heard, Sadiq, um, uh, what's his name? Oh, yeah, Sadiq Khan, as you know, is going to turn London into a sporting event, that sort of thing. Uh, but Triple H actually left a little thing on his tweet saying, "Let's talk." Now, there's talks about this recently about, okay, could they bring WrestleMania? We know that they mentioned WrestleMania is an event that will happen in the US only. But is there a possibility we could see a WrestleMania in UK? I mean, that would be awesome. So we will see what happens. Now, some of you may be probably asking yourself this obvious question. As you know, we have been seeing Steph De Landers appearing in TNA. Some of you may already thought in the back of your minds, okay, is she working TNA under contract? Well, according to what reports are saying, she's been working TNA as a free agent. So basically, she has no contract with the company. We don't know how long she'll be making. We don't know if there's any deal made, but we know she'll be making appearances recently. We just spoken with her about her in the TNA review, where she will team up with Khan to take on PCO and Jordan Grace at Under Siege. So most likely she is not under contract, but who knows how long she'll be making her appearance. Now, as you know, this coming Saturday we will have Stardom. Many people are hoping that Momo Watanabe becomes the next Red Belt champion. I think many of you who are Momo fans or not or seen her probably will want to see her as the Red Belt champ. But however, she did say that she has no intentions in leading the company. This is what she had to say about that. Um, I don't know about the other girls in the company. I don't mind destroying the Yokohama Butai and drowning the company in debt from the repair cost. So basically, she had her own idea. So we'll see where that leads us. Now, speaking of Stardom, as you know, recently, due to the circumstances the surrounding with Mighty Gold making their launch, we were seeing that Sonny Gutierrez, who has been the translator for the English speaking audience, he is now with Rossi at the Mighty Gold. So you're probably saying there's going to be some a bit a problem for Stardom at not having English announcements. Well, Stardom has announced that there will be English commentating for the All Star Queendom that will take place this Saturday. So I can't wait to see that. However, there was a note that was mentioned. As you know, Rina, who has been the future champion for almost a full year, she will defend her belt against the rookie Sayaka Kurara. But the question does tell: can she retain the belt? Now we know that Rina's actual goal is to break her sister's record. Her sister is Hanan, who had the most consecutive defenses. I think they're 10, and I think Rena might have maybe 6, possibly 8. I'm not sure. But we will see what happens until then. But we just got to wait and see until what happens at the All Star Grand Queendom, and we'll go from there. So I think that's pretty much it, what we have for everybody for our news updates. So I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have Rampage. I think many of us are kind of curious to see what's the aftermath's going to be like after what happened at the end of Dynamite, where we saw the Elite pulled the Meltzer driver, now known as the Tony Khan driver, onto Tony Khan himself. Well, we're kind of curious, and I know that people will be talking about that, but we'll just wait and see until then. I believe we do have, of course, the NXT Level Up stuff, so we'll be talking about that too. Haven't decided yet if we're going to be, of course, uh, doing any other reviews before that. I'm not gonna be able to do a lot of the collective stuff. I'll probably do the best of my ability, like which ones I will be able to do. But from here on out, that's the plan as we speak. Um, but we'll just wing it. Now the priority is NXT Level Up and Rampage. But as of right now, that's all we have. So until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye and have a nice day.